Welcome to the September 22nd meeting of the City of Clovis Planning Commission. Members of the public are encouraged to participate in meetings by accessing the webcast on the city's website, providing written comment at the same website, participating by phone, or coming to the Planning Commission meeting in person. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Cunningham, if you lead us in the flag salute.
Would you stand and help and go along with me and pledge allegiance to the flag of our republic? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Yes. Commissioner Antuna?
Here.
Commissioner Bedstead is absent. Commissioner Cunningham? Here. Commissioner Hatcher?
Here.
Chair Hinkle?
Here. If we get approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes. Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hatcher and seconded by Commissioner Antuna to approve the August 25th Planning Commission minutes. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead is absent. Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Commission Secretary comments?
Yes, I would like to, first indicate that we're having some technical difficulty right now, so we're trying to figure out how to work the PowerPoint right now. So while they're doing that, I do want to point out, if the commission recalls, back in July, I introduced Liz Salazar, who is here with us. She's going to be presenting for the first time before the commission this evening. But also I wanted to introduce Marissa Jensen, who is back there. She's waving right now. She is our newest assistant planner as well. She started with us back on August 1st, so this will be her first presentation before the commission this evening as well. And lastly, I want to introduce Mackenzie Perez, who is way back there. She's saying hi right now. She is our newest senior planner. Joining the management team of the planning division, and she started earlier this month. Okay, and I believe Dave had some comments too.
Thank you. I'd like to make an announcement that we had a late distribution of material to the Planning Commission after the initial release of the agenda package relating to item number 4 regarding the VMT project. The material included a revised attachment number 1, the resolution addressing the EIR, to include the missing findings of fact and statement of overriding consideration that had been left out of the original packet. Copies of the revised resolution are available on the table just outside the door, which is on the left side of the room for the audience. Also, we wanted to provide a quick update on the athletic performance conditional use permit. At your last meeting, we talked about our expectations of receiving the civil improvement drawings just a couple of days later. Those did not arrive on time. After about 3 or 4 weeks, ultimately we learned that the principals there were changing courses relative to their civil engineer, and they've hired a recognized civil engineering firm locally to perform the work. We've already met with them and got an initial draft, and we expect things to move forward quickly from here. But the expectations that we had and expressed at the August 25th meeting were not met. So we will hope that we get a quick turnaround on those plans and that we're able to get permits issued for the work to begin. But we'll be on schedule to give you a formal update, an agendized update on the project at your October 27th meeting.
Okay. Planning Commission member comments? Seeing none, we'll move to public comments This is an opportunity for the members of the public to address the Planning Commission on any matter within the Planning Commission's jurisdiction that is not listed on the agenda. Is there anybody in the chamber that would like to address the commission? See none, is there any online?
There are none.
Okay, we will move to public hearings. And item number 1, a request to approve a conditional use permit to allow an existing 6-bedroom Congregate living health facility to add 6 beds for a total of 12 beds. The site is located at 2193 Alamo Avenue, Vartarian Jangosian, applicant Marina Iscount, owner. I apologize for the names, and staff.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair Hinkle and Commissioners. My name is Liz. I'm an Assistant Planner with PDS, and tonight I'm going to be presenting Conditional Use Permit 2022-003. I want to advise that the Commissioners have been provided a memo indicating additional conditions received from the Engineering Division. These are in regard to the project's trash enclosure or toters, and I will provide further details later in the presentation. CUP 2022-003 is a request to approve the expansion of the existing Congregate health facility known as Alamo's Care from 6 beds to 12 beds. Approval of this CUP will allow the applicant to move forward with the internal conversion of the existing guest rooms and 1-car garage as part of the expansion. A separate formal building permit and approval is required for the interior conversion. Alamo's Care is located at 2193 Alamos Avenue, which is located on the northwest corner of Alamos and Armstrong Avenues, just south of Shaw Avenue. The existing facility is completely surrounded by residential uses, and the adjacent streets have been improved with curb gutter, and there's also a sidewalk along Armstrong Avenue. Congregate living health facilities are required to be licensed by the state of California, and Alamo's Care has been licensed since October of 2017. Alamo's Care operates as a residential home providing 24/7 complete patient and medical supervision with skilled nursing services to help residents manage and recover from severe disabilities, injuries, and illnesses such as brain or spinal injuries, complex wounds, and more. Existing services will remain the same with the addition of the 6 beds and 1 to 2 employees per shift. No employees will live on site, and visitations may occur between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. The site currently has 2 access points. The first is along Alamos Avenue to the existing 2-car garage here. And then the second is along Armstrong Avenue to the existing 1-car garage here. This 1-car garage will be converted into an office space. The project requires 2 parking spaces. These parking spaces are provided within the existing 2-car garage along Alamos Avenue. There are additional spaces that can be provided in both driveways. Alamos Care is a architectural design is of a residential home, therefore is compatible with the existing residential area. Clovis Police Department did not report any concerns for calls for services or disturbances in the residential neighborhood. The existing facility's footprint will remain the same as the conversion will take place from the existing guest rooms and the 1-car garage, as shown here. With the conversion of the existing guest rooms and 1-car garage, there will be minor changes to the east elevation along Armstrong Avenue, which would be removal of the garage door with addition to windows, as here. So it will remain in the residential character. Engineering provided 2 additional conditions following discussion with Public Works regarding solid waste. The applicant will have 2 options for solid waste, which would be either a Type 3 trash enclosure or 16 toters. Based on the findings in the staff report, no adverse effects on the surrounding area, and no opposing comments from outside agencies, staff is recommending approval of Conditional Use Permit 2022-003, subject to the conditions of approval as attachment 2 with staff recommended modifications. I am available for questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Any questions? No questions from the commission. We'll move to the applicant. The applicant would like to speak upon this development.
Yes, the applicant is here.
Yes, you go to the podium. Give us your name and address. It should be able to turn the speaker on there.
Where the talking head is.
It's like the third one from the left.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, City and Planning staff. My name is Vartan Jangosian. I'm representing the project design, and I work on this project. And before too, like 8-9 years ago, we did the first design, Congregate Living. And during this time, looks like there is more demand about the patients, so owner decided to enlarge the project, Congregate Living. And like a designer, I try to minimize any kind of disturbing elements on the building. Building 95% is going to be the same shape and the same look. Only we changing the garage door, regular window, and adding only 15 square foot, I believe 15, 16 square foot. And our mostly job is going to be like a tenant improvement. And of course, we need to upgrade the building code with the fire department and the building department too, which is strictly is going to be inside of the building. And this project is not going to create any dust, any disturbance surrounding neighbors. And owner is promising to work very quietly without giving any problem neighborhood. So I believe we try to do our best, and of course we're going to follow all your recommendations and for the construction and business too. And any business question, owner is here to answer you too. But if you have any architectural or planning issues or anything, I'm ready to answer. Only I like to ask you, if someone is going to ask me a question, talk to me a little bit louder. I have a little bit hearing problem.
Okay. Any questions? None
No.
from the commission?
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
And I like one more thing. I like to express my deep appreciation, planning staff. During these 2 months, we worked really great together, and they did really fast and professional job on this case. And like I told Mr. George today morning, this kind of job in LA taking almost a year. So we really appreciate it. Within the 2 months, we got the kind of result on this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak upon this project? See none in the chambers or any online?
There are none online.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the commission. The staff, do you have anything you might want to add to this? Okay, I see. No.
Nothing to add.
Okay. We'll bring it up on the commission to act upon it.
I'll move to approve conditional use permit 2022-003, subject to the conditions as listed in attachment 2.
I'll second.
Okay, call for the vote.
I have a motion by Commissioner Cunningham and second by Commissioner Hatcher to approve conditional use permit 2022-003 to allow an existing 6-bed congregate living facility to add 6 additional beds for a total of 12 beds at 2193 Alamo Avenue with the modified and updated conditions of approval. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedsted is absent. Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, if we move to item number 2 in the public hearings, conditional use permit 2003-019A, a request to approve a conditional use permit to modify the project boundary of the existing storage facility at 750 North Fowler Avenue. Novo LP owner, Darrell's Mini Storage, Inc., applicant Bill Robinson, representative. Staff?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Marissa Jensen with the City of Clovis Planning Department. I am pleased to be here tonight and bring before you CUP 2003-19A. This proposal is an amendment to CUP 2003-19, which allowed for a Darrell's mini storage facility. The applicant is requesting approval to modify the project boundary of the existing storage facility. They are also proposing a reduced basin size and 2 additional buildings. The existing Darrell's mini storage is located at 750 North Fowler Avenue, which is west of Fowler and north of State Route 168. The site is 17.68 acres in size and is mostly developed. 3 of the 4 total phases of the project have been completed. The proposal will incorporate approximately 25,000 square feet of area into phase 4 of the previously approved project boundary. Please note that the red area indicates the project site, the yellow area is the existing basin area, and the shaded is the proposed building area. Both the surrounding area and the project site have been developed, and the surrounding area is zoned residential, primarily R1 7500, which is single-family residential, 7,500 square feet, and it is mostly surrounded by single-family homes. Please note that there will not be any changes made to the access point of the storage facility. The existing access point is located off of Fowler, and the cul-de-sac on Birch Avenue is emergency access only. Parking was developed during the first phase, and there are no additional parking stalls proposed. A little bit of background. In December of 2003, the Clovis City Council approved the original entitlement, which allowed the existing storage facility. The proposed development will be enhanced with the same features as that of the original phases, and the applicant is seeking approval only to expand in that project boundary area, which is the existing retention basin area. That area was initially planned to be subdivided into 2 single-family residential lots. However, because of the need for additional storage space, the applicant has instead decided to expand the storage facility. The applicant has worked with the Fresno Metropolitan Flood Control District to significantly reduce the area for the retention basin and is seeking to incorporate that area for the project boundary for storage buildings. Please note that reference is made in the staff report to a requirement of a 5.5-foot setback from the western property line. However, I would like to clarify that the buildings would actually be located 9 inches from the property line, which you can see here where these red lines are. This was noted incorrectly in the staff report, and in 2001, the City Council adopted Ordinance Amendment 2001-4, which allowed the ability to relax the side and rear yard setback requirements in the residential zone district by way of the use permit process. The 9-inch setbacks are consistent with other Daryl's mini storage facilities within Clovis and other locations in the Central Valley. The 9-inch setbacks are preferred to provide security to the single-family residents on the western side from intruders and not provide a path of travel behind the storage buildings. The approved fourth phase included 17 buildings, but with this proposal, there will be an addition of 2 buildings, which would make for a total of 19 single-story storage buildings to be used as storage space to be leased to customers in the fourth phase. The proposed storage buildings will range between 1,400 and 4,900 square feet. The new buildings will be consistent with the elevations of the existing buildings, which include stucco and painted metal security screenings. And additionally, the buildings are 11 feet 4 inches in height, which is also consistent with the existing buildings. Based on the findings stated in the staff report, no adverse effects on the surrounding area, and no opposing comments from outside agencies, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve CUP 2003-19A, subject to the conditions of approval. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions from the Commission.
Questions for staff? See none. We will then let the applicant speak upon this project.
I see a red light, so I must be on. Is that correct?
You're ready to go.
Okay, I'm ready to go. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Bill Robinson. My business address is 906 N Street, Suite 100. My business phone number is 559-497-1900 if anybody needs to reach me. I'm here representing Daryl's Mini Storage on this particular project, which is an infill project. The project boundaries will not expand. The parcel has been defined, was defined in 2003, and was that approved at forced phases. This happens to be the fourth phase. I want to make a correction. No reflection on Marissa, but the square footage being added is actually 61,150 square feet. If you total up the square footages on each one of the buildings on the site plan, that's what it comes out to. So I don't want to misrepresent it as 25,000 square feet of building. It's actually 61,150. There's 19 storage buildings, and about the ponding basin, retention basin, the flood control actually relinquished the requirement for that in their August 23rd notice of requirements. That they said the permanent drainage service is now available, and as a result, the city's requirement for stormwater to be retained by temporary facilities is no longer required to control runoff from the site. But our engineer, Hal Lohr Engineering of Clovis, met with flood control, and they came to the agreement that a much smaller retention basin would be prudent, and to put in a sump pump. That way there's less danger of the water ever inundating the cul-de-sac, the adjacent cul-de-sac, and into the neighborhood. So Daryl's has agreed to do that voluntarily, although it's not required. Your commission over the years, many times without fail, has always wanted to know what do the neighbors say. So we voluntarily held a neighborhood meeting in the adjacent park, and we noticed all the adjacent parcel owners, and 3 came out to talk to us. Their main concern was the drainage. And what happened is you're very familiar with the radio tower parcel. It's unimproved, and it does not have very good drainage. And the water flows across on heavy rainfall. That water flows off of that parcel south, and it comes into the Daryl's property, which hasn't been a problem because it's just dirt right now. But it goes into the backyards of 4 or 5 houses. So they were very pleased to hear that the design of the buildings and the grading, all of the runoff for Daryl's will go into their project, and be channeled to get out down on the cul-de-sac, but also the elevation on the buildings along the north property line. And Marissa, can you throw the site plan up there, please? There we go. The north is on top. And those two buildings, the end of one building and the north side of that one building, they're going to be set up so that it'll keep the water from coming into this project. And if you look on the left side, there's about 4 or 5 lots right there. In fact, those are the people that came to the meeting. Those are the people that are going to be protected from the runoff. And they were very, very pleased to hear that. And so we're very glad to do that. The building heights, when we had our neighborhood meeting, we explained the building heights are 8 foot 4 inches. That's that much taller than their fence, so that helped. They didn't know the buildings are single story, but you never really can see graphic or mentally how tall it is. So when they realized it was 2 feet higher than their fence, they were fine with that. The 9-inch offset has become a standard with Daryl's because you don't want to have an area back there where people can get in and hop over fences. And so 9 inches is set off the property line for a footing. Okay, how does that relate to the neighbor's fences? Daryl's draws up an agreement with each one of the property owners on how to handle the fence that they currently own. And Daryl's will take the fence out if they want, or they'll fix it up with like materials. If they want to connect it to the adjacent building, they'll fill it in. So they're very accommodating, and people are always very pleased to hear that. And if they run their lawnmower into it and poke a hole into it in the wall, all Daryl's they have to do is call Daryl's, and they'll come out and fix it. So they asked about when construction, and sometimes I get that question before your body. About a year. We're going to have to go through site plan review. We've got engineering and construction documents to get approved. That includes the completion of the cul-de-sac. That cul-de-sac is barely minimum. So it'll get curb and gutter, sidewalk, and surrounding landscaping. So that'll dress that up and make it a lot nicer. And the residents were very happy to hear that. So to date, I know of no opposition. Marissa did tell me that they got a phone call. Maybe that'll change tonight. Maybe somebody here wants to speak against the project. I'd be more than willing to answer any questions. So we greatly appreciate your consideration of this matter tonight, and respectfully request your commission approve the CUP 2003-19A. And thank you, Marissa. She's not a rookie anymore. She came to the plate tonight, so so congratulations to you, and I'll remain for any questions from you or the audience.
Commission, any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the? If you would like to, you could go up to the podium, please. Give us your name, where you live.
My name is Jenny Cantu, and I'm one of the residents.
Could you pull the microphone down?
I'm Jenny Cantu, and I'm one of the residents that's on this side of the park where the big basin is. There was supposed to be a meeting, which we were waiting for. I wasn't aware. I didn't see anybody, so I don't understand when this meeting took place, visiting with the people. Perhaps they met in a certain section. I have questions because he was saying there was going to be sidewalk, there was going to be no water running off, and 2 times we had to call because when that thing fills up with water, it starts to come in our yard. And if I may, I just want to go ahead and show you. So I'm right next to Basin. So that water runs into my property. And they said their excuse was they bring out pumps, and they pump the water out so that it could run. And I was told by a gentleman at Daryl's Mini Storage that, oh, don't worry, it's never going to flood in your yard, and what the harm is a little water. So that was not kind. So my concern I wanted to ask is Is the basin going to remain there?
I can't answer.
Can you come up here?
He can come up when you're all through. We'll have him come
Okay,
up.
so then if you could please have the question to answer. I want to know, is the basin going to remain there? I thought that's what I heard, or maybe smaller. And I want to know, are they going to fix it so that there is not that worry about it coming into flooding it on our property? Also, I have the question that I want to know is my question is going to be, if they do leave the basin, then none of that is going to affect my property? Like, they're not coming in to take any part of our property to further advance Daryl's mini storage? Is my property going to remain untouched? So that will be one of the questions. And then when they put in the sidewalking, like they said, which truthfully, as taxpayers, it's about time. But I also want to know, there's only one lighting there. I want to know if there's going to be two lightings that could be put up, because one is not sufficient enough in that cul-de-sac. And then we have called the police department on several occasions because cars come in here and they just stay there. We even had an RV come and park there for the weekend. But when the people do leave, they leave beer, they leave condoms, they leave needles, and we've called the police and reported it. So I wanted to find out if we could find out if there would be better security. Maybe we could get that where the police come out and will make their rounds, because that cul-de-sac is heavily occupied at night with people staying there different hours. And it's not a good thing because some of our children play there, ride their bikes there. So that's not a good safety issue. But my main concern is I would like to know, is our property going to be affected, my corner at all? And if there's going to be a basin that remains there, are they going to make access where it won't flood us? Because right now, what has been in place for years has been a pump, which pumps the water out, and it just floods right in front of the sidewalk. So when we're parked in front of the sidewalk, we can't even get in our cars. We've got to walk through the water with water boots. So I would like that addressed, because I don't like flooding in front of our house. So again, as taxpayers, we deserve better than that. And I'm speaking for neighbors that probably didn't come. We are right there on the cul-de-sac side, not the ones going out there to Alluvial. And like I said, I wasn't aware of any meeting. We've been waiting. We've been looking. There was nobody that we spotted that was a meeting so we could address this issue. So that's why we're here, to address them today. So if I could get those questions answered, please. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the chamber who'd like to speak on this from the general public? See none? Mr. Robinson, you can address her questions.
Okay, I still have a red light, so I guess I'm good. Marissa, would you highlight the Pawnee Basin, please? Retention basin. Okay, the yellow is the retention basin, as it will be designed. Can you go back to the site plan and show the size of the original retention basin, please? Okay. You can see the that area right there. So it's probably 4 or 5 times as big. The flood control district, which has to sign the grading plan, by the way, which goes through your engineering department and your public works department, has said that the retention basin is no longer required. But our engineer, being prudent, had met with the flood control district, and they decided that maybe the drainage on that street might be a little too heavy, as you were talking about having to walk through water. So that's what we're trying to prevent by putting in a permanent pump in there that will be automatically pumping water out of there, and it's called a peak flow reducer, so that a lot of water doesn't come out at one time. It comes out in a gentle fashion. This whole subdivision is designed to flow in the streets, the drainage in the streets. So it's designed for for runoff to be conveyed by the streets. So that's all I can say about the basin design. It will be, all that will be approved by your public works, your building department, engineering department, and the flood control district. Regarding the property, we can't go and take anybody's property. Even municipalities find that tough these days. So there right now is a chain link fence that runs along, Marissa, the far left side of the yellow, the yellow right there. Can you highlight, okay, right along there? Okay. Yeah, that's their lot right there. That yellow line is their property line. We can't encroach on their property, and there's a chain link fence there now that is around the ponding basin. That chain link fence is going to stay there. It'll be modified on the other side, but that fence will be there. We don't know what kind of fence they have on their side. Doesn't matter. Chain link fence, the ponding basins are required to have chain link fences. You can't have wood fences around ponding basins. So that fence will remain. So the answer to the second question is no, we're not going to take any property for any development whatsoever. We can't do that legally, obviously. So we will cooperate with that owner on that design. The cul-de-sac right now is a mess. The curb and gutter actually, that yellow line horizontal on the north side of that existing basin isn't there. There isn't any sidewalk. It's a mess. So the entire cul-de-sac will be completed with curb and gutter, sidewalk, and the landscaping will be all dressed up. The problem is a public street. And obviously, we don't govern over public streets. We don't police them or anything else. So maybe that can be noted that that's a hangout spot and needs to be checked once in a while. I believe a light's going to be required to be installed there as part of the cul-de-sac improvements. If the Public Works Department determines 2 lights are to be installed there, then that's fine. It's whatever the requirement is for the improvement of that public street. So the water, to sum it up, the water will be conveyed, we hope more successfully into the street for conveyance to a distant retention basin at a lesser volume to cut down on water being at ankle deep. We all know what that's like when it rains heavily, whenever it rains. And again, flood control, public works, building department, everybody will have their say on how that's all designed. If it has to be modified and the buildings have to be modified, then we'll go through that process too. We're not going to take any property. And what I do want to close with is that this lady, her lot is the one that's right next to the yellow line there. We sent that address a letter, and the meeting was in the park across the street at 6 o'clock in the evening. We also sent a letter to the neighbor, and we sent a letter to all the houses that bordered the project on the west side. So there's another 5 houses up there, whatever. We were out there for an hour and a half, and 2 cars came and went from that site, from that house where she lives, and we were over there. So other than coming over and knocking on her door or whatever, we thought we were, we went out of our way to notify the residents that we were there, and they could come and talk to us. So I understand the concern. Every property owner has concern, but we're going to try to address everything to make it a lot better than it is right now, because right now it's a mess. Any other questions? Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Is there any online?
There are none.
Okay. I will bring it back to the Commission. If I could ask if anybody has a phone, if they could mute your phones, please. Commission, any more discussion on this? But I just want to ask also the staff if they had any more input. Okay. And we're ready for action on what we want to do.
Okay. Move to approve the conditional use permit 2003019A, a request to approve, to modify the project boundary for an existing storage facility at 750 North Fowler Avenue.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Antuna and second by Commissioner Cunningham to approve CUP 2003-019A to modify the project boundary of an existing storage facility at 750 North Fowler Avenue. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Betstead is absent. Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, we'll move to item number 3 on the agenda, conditional use permit 2022-001, a request to approve a conditional use permit for a street corner urban market gas station and convenience store with alcohol sales and a drive-through on plus or minus 1.06 acres of property located at 837 Dakota Avenue. J. Dakota LLC owner, Centerline Design LLC applicant and representative. Staff?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Before I do get started, I'd like to note that you do have a memo on your DS with public comments that were received after the publication of the staff report. So go ahead and please refer to those. So as indicated, this conditional use permit request is for a street corner market gas station and convenience store with alcohol sales and a drive-through. The subject property is located at the northeast corner of Clovis and Dakota Avenues. It's about 1 acre in area and is currently vacant. The property is designated mixed-use village and focus area 4 within the city's general plan, and it's currently zoned C2 community commercial. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on this kind of larger vacant area, because right now it is this 30-plus acre area is currently vacant. You may recall back in late 2018, you recommended approval for a rezone, specifically rezone 2018-13 on this 2.75 acre property to redesignate the split land use from CM and R2 to the C2 zone district. And then here in yellow is the existing Clovis Rec Center. So other than the rec center, this entire site here, as shown in the figure, is currently vacant. However, there have been projects that have been approved and will be in development in the near future. And those include the highlighted here in blue, the Clovis Dakota Business Park. This business park area is about 30 acres in area, and you initially saw this project back in 2020 with rezone 2020-003. It was a redesignation request from the N1, M2, R2 zone districts to the current CM zone district, which is a light industrial manufacturing zone district. So this project here approved about 390,000 square foot of light industrial buildings, and those buildings range between 5,000 to 32,000 square feet. And again, development will be occurring in the near future for this site. Other than that, this site here in this boundary here in green is the recently approved United Health Center site. That was approved with Site Plan Review 2022-009. So this area here is just under 2 acres. The site approved the 15,300 square foot medical office building for the United Health Centers. The United Health Center site will, as you can see, is kind of surrounding the project site, which is located here, and there will be shared reciprocal access and parking between the project site as well as the United Health Center site. So the proposed project is a gas station with convenience market. The conditional use permit components of this project includes the convenience market use, the fuel sales use, and then the alcohol sales. The applicant is requesting a Type 21 ABC license, which is a license for off-site sale of beer, wine, and liquor. As you are probably aware already, the police department is the governing entity for ABC license approval in the city. And this project or this request was routed to PD, who had no concerns or comments related to this request. And then the last component to the conditional use permit is the drive-through. The applicant is requesting a 12-vehicle stack queuing lane for the drive-through. The typical requirement per city code is a 13-vehicle stack. However, the conditional use permit process allows, and with the recommendation of the director, allows a reduction in the queuing stack. In this case, staff and the director is supportive of this request because the minimal deviation of one vehicle. And because this business concept here is, it's not like the typical fast food or coffee shop type drive-through that we are, used to seeing here in the city. They will be selling merchandise that's sold within the store and the foods that require minimal preparation. So with that, staff is in support of the request for the 12-vehicle stack queuing lane. And I just want to include that the sale of alcohol will be prohibited over the drive-through. So this is the site layout of the project. The convenience market component is about 4,300 square feet located at the north side of the site. There's a proposed outdoor seating area which encompasses about 600 square feet and highlighted in orange on this figure. And then the fuel canopy is about 2,500 square feet and accommodates 5 fuel pumps. And so in all, the fuel portion of this project will accommodate 10 vehicles at a time. And then this is the 12-vehicle stack drive-through lane which wraps around the building. It'll start here and then here and here with the drive-through window. In regards to parking, the project requires 27 parking stalls, 11 of which are provided on the site. And then the remaining 16 will be provided on the adjacent United Health Center site. With the United Health Center that was approved, they had an excess of 20-plus parking stalls, and of which 16 will be designated towards the use of this site. There is an existing reciprocal access and parking agreement between the owners. And then access will be from Dakota Avenue via shared access here on the west side of the site. The applicant originally wanted a second access in this area here, but because of its closeness to the major intersection, Clovis and Dakota, engineering is requiring that that access be removed. And then there's also pedestrian connectivity between the trail and the project. So this figure here kind of gives you a better idea of how reciprocal access will look like between the two sites. So the project site is this here, and then UHC is this site right here, kind of like an L. And in the red, you'll see the shared driveways. And then again, access will be from Dakota Avenue and also from Sabre Avenue. This is the proposed floor plan for the convenience market. As you walk in through the front, you'll be greeted with merchandise. The merchandise stands, restrooms are located on the bottom right, and then cold storage all along the back of the building. The cashier and office will be over here, drive-through windows also in this area, and then this is the food prep area. And then you'll also see some tables out here in the outdoor seating area. So these here are the proposed elevations for the project. I would probably say this architecture is very similar to Craftsman with a modern touch in that, in the use of the gabled roof, the wood framing, and the support columns at the entry area. The modern spin includes the large window areas, metal awnings, and the metal roof. This architecture or the use of material is very similar to the approved UHC, which also utilizes the metal awnings. And then the geometrically linear building. So the businesses will be operating from 4:30 a.m. to 12 a.m., 7 days a week. The fuel vendor is 76. And then again, the store merchandise to be sold will include your kind of typical quick grab-and-go foods and snacks, sandwiches, salads, pizzas, fresh produce, and your typical beverage, coffee, fountain drinks, and then the beer, wine, and liquor. The street corner urban market concept with drive-through is a pretty new concept to this area. We don't have a use like this in Clovis currently, and I really had trouble finding anything similar to this near our, near Fresno or other cities in this area here. So if approved, this will be the first for the city of Clovis. The street corner urban market is a national franchise. They do have some California locations, including Glendale, Concord, La Jolla, Oceanside, and then the closest is one that's wrapping up in the city of Merced. Also, this concept picture here to the right is pretty much going to be similar to what this building will look like in shape. The colors will be slightly different, but the shape is pretty consistent. So the urban market concept, the franchise says it's really intended to fill the gap between a grocery store and a convenience store. They offer fresh local produce. They like to source local products, including breads, coffees, and craft beers. You know, we have a lot of microbreweries here in Clovis. And they like to incorporate grocery-type items and quick-serve prepared foods, as you see in these photos here. The customers are also encouraged to sit and stay a while they enjoy their foods and beverages. And these pictures here just show you how the store could look like on the inside. Again, it's slightly different from what we're used to seeing when we think of convenience market. In all, staff was able to make the required conditional use permit findings and therefore recommend that you, the Planning Commission, approve conditional use permit 2022-001, subject to the associated conditions of approval. And this concludes my report.
Commission, any questions for staff?
I do. I do have two questions. The first is, as stated, there's going to be an outdoor sitting area. And I guess my concern is there a plan to mitigate alcohol consumption on site? Like, how do they control that? Because I can see grabbing a sandwich, going and sitting outside, but what I guess process or procedures are in place to mitigate that?
I would assume it would be their staff. So I can, that's probably a question that's better for the applicant when we get to that point.
Okay. And the second question I have or observation is, in the body of the staff report, we cite that their hours of operation are from 4:30 a.m. to 12 a.m. However, in our condition of approval, we cite that the hours of operation are 4 a.m. to 12 a.m. So I don't know if that's just a housekeeping thing that we have to just fix? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those were my two comments.
Wait till she finishes her notes.
Go ahead.
Lily, the question I have is going to be best addressed, I assume, by the corporal who's sitting in the audience. So it's a police question that I'll want to have an answer to. Good evening, Corporal. We spoke briefly before the meeting started. My question is with regard to the type of ABC license is a Type 21, which is an all-inclusive off-site license. ABC governs, and I think we do in city code, how many Type 21s can be in a census tract. How many 21s, excluding this one, are in the census tract that the property falls within?
So the property falls in Census Tract 58.04. Per ABC, the state, they are allowed to have 5 off-sale, that's Type 20 and Type 21 establishments. The way it currently sits is there are 2 Type 20s and 2 Type 21s, so there are a total of 4 off-sales, so this would be the 5th.
Okay, so it's within
It is within the levels, correct.
Okay, and while I've got you there, the convenience store at Ashland and Clovis, I think it's a 7-Eleven by the McDonald's or next to McDonald's.
Yes.
Is that within the city of Clovis or is that in County Island?
That is in the County Island.
Okay, so we do not police that then?
We do not police that area, no.
Okay.
But that is one of the 4 listed ABC establishments in that census tract.
2 different
Correct.
sections, but okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all right. You got off easy.
Thank you.
Commission, any other questions? Okay. At this point, we will take it to the applicant to discuss the project.
Good afternoon. My name is Devin Tinkin. I am the developer with Legacy Realty and Development. We're located just down the road at 5390 East Pine Avenue in Fresno. First, I want to start off and say thank you, Lily and the planning staff, as well as our planning commission here for such a smooth process this is. Legacy, we do a lot of work up and down the state, especially in the valley, and we actually go nationwide. However, this is our closest project, near and dear to our heart, because it's right in our backyard. We frequent the area, and so we feel that we're part of that community. And that's why this is such a big deal to us. We are the exclusive developer for United Health Centers, as Lily saw and pointed out on that site plan there, and that's one of our big developments there. That United Health Centers means a lot to us. They're our top client, and so everything we do that involves them has to just be the gold standard. And that's why we took many years, many hours to find the perfect tenant that's going to go in here, which is the street corner urban market. As Lily pointed out, it's very different. She started by saying, you know, this is very different. You don't see a drive-through. You don't see fresh produce. It's something totally new. It's the Vons you wish you could have in a convenience store area. You know, during COVID, we saw a lot of that. I'll let our partner Jazz Deep here go more into detail of everything Street Corner provides, but it's definitely a resource to the community, to our community in the local area there, because there's so much you wish you could have while kind of staying in the car. That's not a big part of it, but it really is as far as the convenience and usability. Yeah, this project, it's been a dream of ours for a long time. We want to bring them to all parts of the areas that we work in, through Fresno, through Clovis, through the Valley, because it's such a revolutionary idea. We wish we had more guys like Jazz Deep in our pocket that we could use. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily family owned, but it's locally owned. What's the phrase? Owner operated. So we wish we could use him more. So we're constantly searching for great ideas like this that we can place, because this isn't some franchise. While it is part of a national chain or a franchise as far as the name, as far as the licensing, it'll be run by him. So everything, as you're saying there, it's going to be really have that owner's touch. It's not going to be lost to a franchisee at some point who will let it go down the drain. This will be really, really intimate. What's the word I was wanting to go through with there? Yeah, it'll just be, it'll be real controlled. It'll be real local. It'll be real community. We were trying to fight tooth and nail where everywhere someone tried to call it a convenience store, we say, no, this is an urban market because it's different. It's fresh produce. It's not just all the kind of junk you'd see if you go into a regular convenience store. It's not that kind of, I don't know. I don't want to disparage convenience stores too much because we do them, but it's not that. This is something crazy. I wish there was one a little closer to my house. I mean, they're wonderful, and it's everything you wish, you know, without the effort of going into a Save Mart. It's more there. I guess I'm available for questions as well. I believe we may have some coming up.
I do have a question. Tell me a little bit about how your drive-through is going to work at this location, as far as placing orders, or people can just drive up.
That would be one more specifically for Jesse.
Hello, my name is Jazdeep Randawa. I'd like to thank staff, and I'd like to thank Lily for working with us and helping us throughout the process. Just to answer Devin's question about the question you had, ma'am. So for us, we have a special feature at our pumps which allows our customers to order at the pump while they're fueling. So our entire menu is on the pumps. While you are fueling, you could go ahead and purchase what you'd like, pay with your one transaction with the card, order what you like, and go through the drive-thru and pick up what you like and go on with your day. So you don't even have to step foot inside the store to order what you like. So that is a new amenity that we are offering at Street Corner.
Are they able to come just up to your window and place an order?
Yes, we will have a drive-through menu board as well, so they will be able to do that as well.
Perfect.
If I could follow up on Commissioner Antunes' question. This ordering procedure, does that go for all items in the market, or is
everything
it
but sorry about
sandwiches?
It's pretty much all items besides liquor. So no liquor, no tobacco, but you'll be able to order, you know, waters, candy bars. You know, we offer fresh sandwiches, paninis, wraps, salads, things of that nature. You know, just to kind of piggyback off what Devin said, we're not here to sell hot dogs and corn dogs and taquitos, nachos. That's not who we are. We want to provide that niche we think is missing where, you know, the local residents could feel proud, something that's safe and clean for them to come to, not like the other establishments are in the area. We want to run a first-class operation that the community could kind of rally behind and feel proud about.
So I can be at home and realize I'm out of milk and butter, call you guys, order it up, drive over there, pick it up?
Absolutely.
I'm going to pose the question I posed to Lily earlier as far as on-site. How do you mitigate the issue of possibility having on-site drinking? Meaning someone comes into your store, buys a sandwich, and buys a beer. Obviously, your license allows for off-site. So how do you mitigate that or control that?
Well, all of our staff will be trained. If we do see anything of that nature, they will be asked to leave the premises as soon as they can, and they will be banned.
What about signage? Are you placing signage in your area, in your sitting area that says no alcohol consumption can occur here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. I'll open it up now for the public, general public that's in the chamber. If you would like to ask questions upon this project, please state your name and where you live.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Rob Wyatt. I live at 1374 Fedora in the Brentwood subdivision, which is the neighborhood just to the south of this proposed location. I hadn't, you know, there's been zero outreach to the neighbors on this. I think 3, maybe a half a dozen homes got a flyer about this within the 300 feet requirement, right? So that means almost nobody is aware of this. It's the first time I've heard about the gas station, first time I've heard about the health center. I mean, no notice. I have a lot of questions, so I hope you give me a little bit of time here. One is, it looks like from the map that the rec center is going to lose all its parking. So where are they going to park? They have basketball tournaments that come out and fill up that whole area. They've even been parked on Dakota. Where are they going to park now? In our neighborhood? I hope not. Any answer to that? Has there been any thought to that? Number one. Number two, and I think somebody just asked it, what's to prevent someone from going inside, like you asked, ordering a beer and a sandwich and going out to those tables on the side and drinking beer out there? Now, you say there's going to be a sign no alcohol consumed, but is that in the store? Does that count for the 6 tables they're talking about outside? That's a question. No answer. Maybe you have an answer. Number 3, one of the worst areas in the city of Clovis right now is the McDonald's and 7-Eleven right down the trail from this proposed site. We get vagrants, the police officer will confirm this, all the time. They're going to walk down that trail and hang out at this mini-mart. I guarantee it. And it'll be even more of a problem. 4, we have 12 stores that sell liquor right now. One across the street, Tarpey Liquor, the cigarette discount store, the Arco station, the 7-Eleven. You go down the street to the Vons, to the CVS, to the 2 gas stations, come down to Shields, another gas station, Sinclair. Down that sunny side in Shields, there's another liquor store. Come back on Shields, because Dakota's right halfway between Ashland and Shields. There's another Valero sells liquor. Now this will be number 13. How many do you want to have that sell liquor in our area? That's why we have so many vagrants now, is they can go in and get a beer. Panhandle out there at the bus depot that's right there by the McDonald's. They took the bench away from it because there's so many vagrants and homeless hanging out there. This is just going to add to it. Like I said, I don't have, first time I've seen the picture. I mean, the store looks nice, but do we need another store that sells liquor? And will they open it without selling liquor? I doubt it. Let's face it, that's what's going to be one of their big things. And a drive-through, really? We need more smog? You want people sitting in there waiting for them to go through the store, packing up stuff like a Walmart and then bringing it up to the window? Why do we need a drive-through at a convenience store? Park and go in. I didn't even know about that. The health clinic I heard 2 years ago, I went to a meeting that Pickett had for the industrial site. And there was a person there that represented the health care. And I thought that was going to take up this whole area. But I hadn't heard anything more about it for 2 years. Nothing. And now I'm hearing part of that property is going to be a convenience store, liquor store. I mean, we're in the dark on this thing. Saturday, somebody finally posted that brochure that the city gave to the half a dozen homes and posted. That's the first notice I had. I called Lynn Ashbeck because she bought with us for the gun range that's literally across our back fence. That was a marathon in here. We were here for 5 hours that night. That was about 10 years ago. Everybody in the neighborhood was against it, but it still passed. Oh, it was zoned for that. Oh, yeah, okay. Like this is zoned for this. Well, the zoning's changed on this property probably 3 times in the last 20 years, so don't tell me it's zoned for this. Zonings can change, and they have, and they will. That's all I got to say, but if you got some answers on the parking for the rec center, that would be helpful. Anybody have an answer to that, Ms. Planner?
George, do you know if UHC site, I know that it has reciprocal access with the rec center. Will they also be sharing overflow parking for the rec center?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
So just to go a little further on your comment there, your question. So the current rec center does have parking in front of it, and yes, I do acknowledge that there's overflow right now, especially closer to Dakota and north of the current rec center as well.
Can you bring up that photo? Because it looks like that property has taken all that. And the industrial's taking it all the way up to the trail on the north side, which they also use now.
So as you can tell on the exhibit there, so once the industrial park adjacent to this project gets developed.
But it goes all the way to the trail, right?
The trail's right here. So yes.
Well,
it goes right here. And there will be reciprocal access between all of these establishments. So folks here, currently right now, they're parking here. They'll be able to come here, overflow to the north, and they'll be able to overflow here with the United Health Center as well.
So they can park in the health center's parking lot?
Correct.
Okay, and the health center's not open evenings? Does the health center know that? And does the industrial know that they're gonna park up there?
Part of the site plan review, the United Health Center agreed to provide reciprocal access.
Okay, so that's in writing?
It will be. Their site plan review was just approved. So our engineering will be working with them for the reciprocal access, parking, and loading zone agreements.
But the question I had about the drive-through, is that really necessary?
Well, the question about the drive-through, that's going to be a business decision from the applicant, whether that fits their model. When they come and propose that to planning staff, we evaluate it based on, potential impacts to the surrounding area, the neighbors, but ultimately, whether or not it's needed, it will be.
Well, I hope you question the neighborhood, because you haven't so far. I mean, you're including the neighborhood in your answer, but we have no knowledge of it. So keep that in mind. And I would like to get notice. I would like to get notice of any amendments to the policy. Okay? 2 years ago, I put my name on a roster on that any changes to that site, the whole industrial site, and I haven't received anything in 2 years.
And just to confirm, you want to be notified of any modifications to the site?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one other thing, on the liquor, back to the liquor.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute. Is there any law or policy in Clovis, like Fresno has, where you can only have so many liquor stores within a certain distance?
That was addressed earlier.
Yes.
I didn't hear it.
I don't know when you came into this meeting, sir, but that's one of the two questions I specifically asked.
I have a hearing aids. I can't hear too good, so I probably missed it.
Okay. We're governed by law, and the law says, zoning law says, that and the city is broken down to geographical boundaries called census tracts. The census tract that this proposal falls within was addressed by the city police officer. It came up.
Mm-hmm.
Law allows 5 liquor licenses of type 20 and 21, of which this is type 21, within each census tract. Isn't my decision, isn't anyone here in the city's decision, that's state law, okay? This item here will be the 5th in the census tract. The convenience store, the 7-Eleven, if you will, the McDonald's that you talked about, that's not within the city of Clovis. That's in a county island.
Right.
So it's a different geopolitical.
But they still sell liquor, and they're still within that distance.
Doesn't matter. We don't have any governance over that particular location.
So it's not the county alcohol?
No, it's a state license, sir.
Okay, that's state. So does that exempt that 7-Eleven because they're not in Clovis, or is it only as distance?
You aren't listening.
I'm listening, sir.
The 5 liquor licensees within that census tract, that 7-Eleven is one of them.
Okay, I don't know how big a census tract is, do you?
I can't tell you that. They vary in size.
Well, okay, that's kind of important. A census tract, I have no idea how big that is. Does it go up to Fowler?
They vary in size. That's all I can tell you.
Does anybody know?
Mr. Chair, we want to make sure that
I'm not trying to monopolize, but I'm asking questions.
We want to make sure that staff is answering the questions that you want answered, and we'll try not to go back and forth.
Yeah, but your vote's tonight.
In response to the question about census tracts aren't based on geographic size. The number of licenses that are allowed is based on the ratio of licenses per person or per population group. So it doesn't matter how geographically big it is. That number goes up and down based on how many people live within each tract. Hutch, I don't know if you know what that ratio is. I don't remember the details.
Is this on? Yeah, so I don't know what the ratio is per se, but as far as
Census Tract 58.04. It extends down to Dayton, pretty much up to Ashland, and then it kind of goes around the county island and then extends to Fowler. So this is incorporating the CVS, this is incorporating the liquor stores and the convenience stores over in Fowler and Ashland as well. I understand your concerns about the county island and the other liquor stores on the west side of Clovis Avenue. However, based on the census tract design, it's just a little chunk out of the city that somebody else has designed, and we have to follow their recommendation.
So across Clovis Avenue, the Tarpey Liquor and the other liquor store, cigarette discount store at Griffith and Clovis, that's not in it?
Yeah, that is a separate census tract.
Okay, but you said it goes up to Fowler?
This census tract does, yes.
How far down to the south does it go, though?
Just north of Pontiac Avenue.
Okay, all right, so you got 4 right there at Fowler and Ashland.
Well, like I said, the separate intersections, it divides pretty much down the middle of the street, such as the west side of Clovis is separate from the east side of Clovis. Okay. North of Ashland is separate from the south side of Ashland. So as far as this census tract goes, it falls within what the state of California has allotted.
Like the Vons isn't, because it's on the north side of Ashland?
It's a separate census tract, yes.
Okay. So if you go across the street, there's 2 more.
Because of time limits, we're going to have to,
I understand.
If you have any other questions, you might want to get a hold of ABC.
No, I just wanted you to hear that, though. Okay, I hope you did.
Right.
Thank you.
So, and I want to state that in order to allow everybody to speak, I want to limit you to 3 minutes of time at the podium. Okay, the next person, if there's someone else who'd like to speak on this item.
My name is Bill DeGroot. I live at 3734 80 Avenue. Okay, my big concern is the store looks great, but the traffic from the store and the traffic from the business park and everything, just east of Clovis Avenue on Dakota is all residential. We have traffic that comes through our neighborhood, no regard for speed limit. We have one 25-mile-an-hour speed limit right there in the trees. Nobody ever sees that. They're going down Dakota Avenue 30, 40, 50 miles an hour. I almost got in an accident on Dakota Avenue trying to turn down my street, making a left-hand turn. Somebody decided to pull past me on the left. I live at the corner of Eddy and Fedora. There's 3-way stop. No one ever stops there. I've seen cars accelerate through as they come through. We have a problem with people speeding up and down through our neighborhood. They're cutting across on Ashland or on Dakota and coming out the back way through the Duke. We have worker trucks from the industrial park coming through our neighborhood. There's a sign that says, no trucks allowed. They still come through. We have a neighbor here that's called police on that many times, but they still do it. We don't have any police presence. Very seldom do we ever see a police officer come through our neighborhood to mitigate these problems. And that's my biggest concern is with all the extra business and the store, the gas station, how are you going to control traffic in our neighborhood? We got kids. My neighbor's got the newborn, got 4 or 5 kids. Neighbor on the other side of me, 2 young girls. Neighbor across, young girls. Down the street from me, he has a bunch of grandkids that live with him. They're out there playing in the street all the time. Across the street, a new family moved in. They're out there, they got a bunch of boys playing, basketball. The ball lands up, and we got cars racing up and down our street. Now, when you add in all this extra traffic, and people driving through our neighborhood just because they don't want to stop at the stoplight at Shields and Clovis Avenue because they live back off of Shields and Fowler somewhere. That is my biggest complaint. We need something to stop that. I hear complaints about people driving down Sunnyside going to Ashland. They zip down that The streets are long. People fly down. They're wide, you know, they're nice streets. They're long, and they just continue racing down through the neighborhood. And there's nobody ever stops at stop signs. Very seldom do we see people stop.
Thank you.
So, how are you guys going to control that? That's what I want to know. How are you going to control the extra traffic in the neighborhood, especially when people are cutting through, getting off the business, getting off, going to the gas station, off of work, and driving through our neighborhood? See, that is the biggest complaint I have. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else like to speak?
Hello, my name is Rebecca Ashton, and I live at 3612 Sabre Avenue. I live about 520 feet from the proposed project area. I did submit my comments in to Dave Merchant, so I pretty much have all the same concerns as the first gentleman about the excess amount of gas stations we have. Pretty much a lot of us, for me, we're about 1 mile from a Costco gas station that I frequently go to. And then, yeah, just we have one on Ashland and Clovis right there, and then one on Shields and Clovis. And then, again, and what I'm thinking about is there any decision about doing electric charging stations? Since that's where we're going to in California here. I guess that's a question for the developer. And then the other thing is, too, with the loitering and the camping out, it's been such an issue over there at the 7-Eleven. I get so concerned walking up to Ashland and Clovis with my kids because of the people camping out right there underneath that shelter. So I'm just worried that it's going to be more camping and loitering around the area. And then the other thing is about, just learning from the hearing that they mentioned that they'll be selling liquor and people can sit outside. That's another issue of people walking down the trail and people being belligerent. That's another concern for me. So, yeah, that's it in my comments. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Arlene Lorta. I live at 3605 Eddy Avenue on the corner of Dakota. With these last three people that spoke, I agree with the majority of what they're saying, so I'm not going to go through the whole formality of it. The traffic, having another liquor store, or a store to sell liquor, it's just, we have so much around us already and across from us. There's a liquor store right there on Clovis and Griffith. There's the Tarpey area, McDonald's. I have granddaughters that work at McDonald's there. I used to take one of them to work there because she didn't drive at the time. I used to drive her there at different hours. It was horrible there because of the homeless people. She drives there now by herself. She's old enough, but I worry about her. There's times when I go by there different hours of the night just to check to make sure things are okay, because the homeless people get packed there, and some of them are drunk. I know at McDonald's they've had to call the police on several occasions, because I've even sat in McDonald's during the daytime where they walk in and they have to push them out. Literally, it gets a little out of control where they do have to call the police at times. Then they have the 7-Eleven store there. They hang out on the property. They can't call the police 24/7 because they're on more important things. So for us to have another liquor store in our neighborhood, and with more traffic there that we get, with the lights are out right there on Dakota and Clovis Avenue, or Clinton and Shields down the way, the traffic backs up, and as soon as people can, they're driving, speeding right through, right off of Clovis Avenue onto Dakota, go through the neighborhood like crazies. They do the same thing right off of Ashland onto Sunnyside in the neighborhood just to try and get out. And they're speeding through the area. We have so much traffic there. There's times where I have stood out there with my camera and yelling at them to slow down. And I've had a couple of people that turn around and come back, why are you taking a picture of me? And I tell them, because you're speeding through a neighborhood that says 25. And they go, well, you take me off my, and I go, I don't have to. I'm on my property. You're speeding in my neighborhood. You're disobeying the driving law here. We've got kids in the neighborhood. We don't need no more liquor stores, and we don't need no more traffic. Something else has got to be done. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ernie Lorta. This is my wife that just spoke ahead of me. We live at 3605 Eddy Avenue, and that's on the corner of Eddy and Dakota. That would be the southeast corner there. And as our neighbors have spoke before myself, traffic is really bad down that Dakota. Now, I concur with police officers here. Yes, we've had the radar out there maybe twice in the last 10 to 15 years. And I know they're out there trying to enforce it, but it's gotten to where, again, the budget, every time we call, you know, they just sell somebody down there. And they do, an hour or two later when everybody's gone. But the thing is there's a recreation area there. There's a park across the street there where we're almost where we live. And putting more areas of concerned businesses in our neighborhood is really going to be a mess there with traffic, I believe. We lived there, we bought the house when Brentwood was building the subdivision there. In span of so many years that we were there, we had 4 cars go up on our property because of speeding. There's been collisions there. One that was traveling down Eddy Avenue onto Dakota almost went into that basin in there. And I called City Hall and I said, please put those arrows there. There's an arrow now there that, you know, goes both ways so they can see that coming down that street on a foggy night or something like that, that's a dead end. Luckily, the person that went almost into that pond took off. We went out there and the fence was all damaged, but again, I concur with my neighbors as what they said. I don't want to repeat everything, but talking about the county islands around us, I kind of kid around with my neighbors or whoever, my friends, that we live down in Baja Clovis. At one time or another, there was a hotel that was going to be built on that corner. And I believe the neighbors got together and they moved it down on Gettysburg. So that area is going to be congested, I tell you, if they put that 7-Eleven in there. And also that park that we have there. It's probably going to be people sleeping there, like they're sleeping over there at McDonald's area. And I know PD will be there faster than the county sheriff will be there. The sheriff county, again, with their budget, we had a homeless person there by McDonald's that camped out for, 3 months before they removed him. Right there on Ashland, going into 7-Eleven. They removed him 3 months later. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Miguel Ramirez, and I live at 3735 Sunnyside Avenue. I just want to concur with everything that's been said. Issues regarding the traffic. I live on Sunnyside, and a lot of the people that come through that Dakota and through the neighborhood to get back out to Ashland actually go right by my house. So I can tell you that they definitely speed. And then to top it off, it's kind of a curve that goes back on the Duke. And I don't know, for some reason, some people just like to act like they're on a speedway or something and go around that corner very fast. And so, yeah, that is a concern. So if there's anything that can be done to mitigate that, it would be much appreciated. Irregardless of what happens with this particular convenience store, it's a problem. It's an ongoing problem. Also, you know, I'm concerned with the quality of life for the people who live there, the people who live right across the street. Convenience stores, whatever you want to call it, gas station, they require a lot of light. I mean, nobody wants to go into a convenience store in the middle of the night without tons of light, or a gas station. And I'm not so much for myself, because I live several blocks from there, but for the people who live right across from there, I'd be concerned for them. I mean, if I had to deal with that, the bright light coming from across the street, I would have a problem with it. And also regarding the possibility of future blight in that area. Gas stations, I mean, if this business does not work out, gas stations are notoriously difficult to convert into other uses. And if that business doesn't work out for whatever reason, I mean, I don't know that's necessarily the greatest area for that particular business, I'd be concerned with a building that sits there, like in a lot of other areas of town, where basically the businesses die, and then those areas just stay there, they're not taken care of, and so that would be another concern. So I would just hope that you would take those things into consideration. Thank you.
My name's Clifford Osborne. I live at 3654 Manila. That's back in a ways from my neighborhood. The only access from the east is Dakota, between Shields and Ashland. That's the only access from the east. All the traffic comes through Dakota. Either that, or you have to come from the south, or you have to come from the north. That's from the east. I heard a bang the other day. It's what these guys were describing. Somebody was speeding, someone ran the stop sign, boom. Heard an ambulance a few minutes later. I knew what it was. I used to be a fireman. Talking about reciprocal parking. When they have an event at the rec center, where are these people going to park? Anywhere they want. They're going to be at the health center, and they're going to be at this market. Thank you.
Hello. I'll be very brief. My name is Richard Verdugo. I am a retired deputy sheriff. The first thing I want to say is thank you, Clovis Police Department, for your service. They don't appreciate us enough. I'm a retired deputy sheriff. Mr. Cunningham can qualify my credentials because I worked with him for many years. The only thing I have to say is that the alcohol control, currently I work for ABC as the alcohol monitor. I make sure people are of age when they drink at an event. That's all I do. But no one follows the rules. They'll buy some alcohol, go outside, sit down, and everything's going to go crazy for your employees that work there. I mean, I'm sure you're going to have well-trained employees. I'm well-trained in what I do, but drinking on the premises. Commissioner Cunningham, I responded to many calls with places like that with you. The last one was on Jensen and Willow. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that, but that turned into a nightmare. And so I don't know if this goes through, my main concern is the alcohol of drinking outside your business. Okay, it's going to be tough on your employees, and I feel really bad for them. But anyways, it's nice seeing you. It's been a while. Thank you.
Anybody else in the chamber would like to speak on this item? Is there any online?
There are none.
If Commission would like to hear from the applicant again, has the questions for the applicant.
Just like to hear some comments from you regarding what you've heard in the chambers tonight.
Yeah. What we've heard, I can understand it. We definitely hear you. From a developer standpoint, I'll let Jasdeep talk about more of the intricacies on the site. From a developer standpoint, we see these, and a lot of the issues I'm personally taken aback by some of them, as we see our site as a solution to a lot of the problems. We heard some questions about smog, vehicle miles traveled, which is the current metric that we run things by. Gas stations and these kind of drive-throughs with the particular produce actually reduce vehicle miles because instead of having to drive further out, put more pollution up, you have one close by. And then gas stations, it blows my mind every day as a developer how much the Air Board likes them. There's some statistic that they run that gas stations are actually a positive for them. I'll let Jasdeep talk about if there's any EV in the future. Other items is flying by there. We've all lived in this valley, and we know that there's parts that are undeveloped, and those are the parts that people really just zoom by. My wife used to live out in Easton, California, just off of 41. People zoom by 80 miles an hour down there just because you can, because there's nothing out there. With how, not high density, but with the commerce that's coming here, that definitely reduces that from just a young kid speeding standpoint. We have traffic reports to back up, not anything that crazy, but a lot of the concerns I was seeing here, I hear you. The concerns you're voicing, if that was in my neighborhood, I would feel scared. But I'm happy that these items, with what we're bringing forward, is a solution to a lot of these. And it may not look like it, but I'm very excited for the day that when it opens, and hopefully you guys will be Jasdeep's customers there. So I'll let him answer any of those remaining.
Any remaining questions that I could answer?
So I wanted to give you the opportunity to answer any of the.
I know that I believe you had mentioned EV chargers. We are prepping ourselves for EV charging. We will have 4 stations to accommodate that down the road, so we are running all the necessary requirements so we could go in and bring that down the road. Yes. Yeah. Anything in particular? Anything else?
I have a question or possibly a comment for you.
Yes.
It sounded like alcohol consumption was one of the items that was a big concern to most of the residents who came out here to speak. So perhaps if you have not developed an exact plan on how you're going to mitigate the drinking on your premise, I would encourage you to develop a plan that you enforce so that we don't hear of calls being made to our police officers to come out and remove people from your property. And I would hope that if you are having issues with that you might consider doing something else with your outside seating area. I mean, I like what you're doing. It's a good product. I did some research on other drive-through convenience stores. They're mostly in southern states. There's a few in LA and San Diego and some back east, and they all had a lot of success. So I'm excited for your product, but I would really recommend that you take some serious consideration into how you're going to mitigate drinking on your property and ensure that it doesn't occur.
Yes, ma'am. You know, just to kind of touch base, you know, street corner, we're here to be the neighborhood market. We're not here to be a typical convenience store. We want to provide something that everyone can be proud of. And, you know, I know there's issues going on with the surrounding facilities, but we're going to create a facility where we're not attracting that type of stuff at our facility, if that makes sense. You go up and down Clovis and surrounding areas, those areas attract those type of, you know, unwanted, you know, incidents that take place. We're not trying to attract those type of customers. We want to attract the local residents where they could feel safe, wanted, and take their kids and take their grandchildren and, you know, and their family members and feel safe and not have to worry about, you know, all the issues that are taking place at the surrounding businesses. We're trying to establish ourselves as the nice, clean, friendly spot in town that's going to accommodate to everyone. And that's what we're going to do. We're not trying, we are going to do that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, staff, did you have anything you wanted to add to this at all?
I did notice there's a question about lighting. So city code requires that lighting stays all on site and is screened. So that'll be addressed through the building plan review process. And then we also did condition this site to have soft halo type lighting for their signage and any signage that's proposed on the canopy.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I also want to note that there were a couple of comments that came in through the comment portal that I don't believe have made it into the Planning Commission's packet, so I want to introduce those comments just so we have them in the record. A comment from Mike Johnson that I don't believe you received. He indicates he is against the gas station and liquor store at this location. You haven't considered the impact to the local residents and the huge number of cars this business will bring in. How many kids killed by speeding drivers will it take for you to listen? Alcohol sales until midnight is a surefire way to bring crime into the neighborhood. Look at the 7-Eleven on Ashland and Clovis. This plan will bring crime to a nice neighborhood and a lot more traffic too. I am against this. And one additional letter, comment letter. From Brett Sawyer, which I don't think we've heard from. The comment is, no to the gas station at Clovis and Dakota. You have done nothing to manage the traffic and you want to have the drugged out homeless people move into the neighborhood. You have not thought it through. I do not want the people who are homeless in my neighborhood. Everyone at the 7-Eleven at Ashland will come to this gas station. Why are you encouraging them? We had a third comment that the written comment I don't believe came into your packet from Robert Want, who I believe you heard from in person, and his comments in writing were the same as those that he raised in person.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the commission.
Before we
further discussion?
Yeah, before we start our discussion, I wanted to address all the residents who took time out of their evening to come out here and voice their concerns. And it's good to hear from residents because it gives us a broader perspective of what is happening out there with developments. Most of the items I heard was traffic, speed, accidents, lack of safety, and that is not something that we are voting on this evening, but I encourage you to speak to our engineering department. Sorry, Gene. That's Gene over there. And maybe come see him or call the engineering office so that they can put in some measures to mitigate the speeding, whether it's speed bumps, whether it's a stop sign. I mean, I don't know. That's up to the engineers as to what they can do to come and voice your opinions. And if you do not get relief with your concerns, the council meets every Monday. You're a resident here in Clovis, and they want to hear from you. And if you want to see change in your neighborhood, come talk to them. But we want to make sure that new businesses thrive here, but we also want to make sure that our residents are thriving as well. Thank you. As for this project, I like the project. I think it is something, I know that it was called liquor store, convenience store, but not truly what it is. What it is an urban market, and I would like having one of these in my neighborhood. because I don't always want to go to Vaughn's. I don't always want to go to a grocery store. And I love that this store, when you go to a convenience store, you have a basket that has bananas that are just probably too ripe and possibly an apple and some cheese. That's what you get for healthy if you're stopping at a gas station convenience store and you want to choose something that's healthy. That is not what I've seen here. This market is more of a hybrid of not quite a grocery store, but definitely not a convenience store. And possibly the concerns that are being raised by the neighbors have to do with, and I can stand the frustration that they have endured with the homelessness and things that are in county islands that we cannot control because they're not in our city. And I really feel bad for the residents in that area. But I do think that this type of business is a good business for Clovis. I think that the drive-through is innovative. I mean, I had not thought of a drive-through convenience urban market. I've just never seen them. So like I said, I did my research, and they are thriving, and they do well, and people love them in the areas that they're in. So I'm excited to welcome you into Clovis and your business.
Any more discussion for the commission?
Yeah, I have just settled back on Commissioner Antuna. I appreciate everyone's comments tonight. We have a difficult choice up here at times. This isn't one of them in my mind. We deal with zoning issues, but we're not experts up here. We're citizens just like yourself. We put in a lot of volunteer hours to research and read through. This package for this evening was 400 pages, and we went through the 400 pages, and it's typical of one of our meetings, and we tried to do what's right coming from our individual aspects, and this isn't my profession, wasn't my profession, as was told by Mr. Verdugo. I was in law enforcement for 36 years, but I saw an awful lot of what I hear tonight. The area has a lot of so-called liquor stores, but unfortunately, the west of Clovis, for the most part, is county, and Ashland and Clovis, the convenience store there is also county. So we don't have anything to do with that. We're in the city of Clovis. This particular applicant is trying to do something here. It's the first of its kind in the valley, as far as I know. It's a market, an abbreviated market, but a market nonetheless. And it's really kind of the thing that I would like to see in my neighborhood, and I'm not in that neighborhood. I think it's a good fit for Clovis. I think you'll find, if we approve it tonight and it goes forth, that it'll be a good fit for your neighborhood. I don't think it's going to create the traffic issues that you think it might. The traffic issues that you have now, you've had, and there are ways to address that. Commissioner Antuna touched upon them. So it has my support tonight, and I hope that you would give them the opportunity to prove themselves for you.
I want to reiterate what I had to say, and thank you all for coming out and speaking. I know most of you probably didn't want to and don't like to speak any more than I personally like to speak up here. I understand what you're saying about the homeless, especially about that McDonald's. It is not the best area, unfortunately. Clovis can't police it. It's not in their area. I'm sure that they probably do respond many times to assist. I think sometimes people forget why we're up here, and we're not up here to police traffic or parking or speeding. We're here for the planning and the zoning. This is something new. It is something innovative, and yes, it might right now look like it's going to encroach on the rec center or the parking, but once it's all fully developed, which may take years, it will be very well developed. It will be very well planned, and there won't be a lot of the issues that you think are going to happen. I don't believe those issues will come to fruition. Right now, like Commissioner Cunningham said, a lot of the issues you already have. This store coming is not going to, it might change a little bit, but it's really not going to change much of the traffic issues you have in your neighborhood. Those are issues that need to be developed and dealt with engineering. In terms of the liquor license, obviously this is number 5. If they are approved, it will be the last one that can come in that particular tract. We have no control, Clovis PD, we don't have any control over that. That's something that ABC does. So yes, it might seem like there's a lot in a very condensed area, but that isn't something that we can monitor or change. I think this plan looks very good. I do have some concerns with the outdoor seating. That's something you might want to maybe phase in. I don't know how you want to look at that. But I do believe you will have to come up with a good plan to have people not stay and consume alcohol on the property. I have no doubt that you can do that. Many businesses do. Those that aren't as successful have found ways, you know, you work with PD, you work with who you need to work with to get a good plan. Because we do not want to hear of you guys coming back in a year with a lot of reports from PD of people coming out and drinking on your site, because that's obviously not what anybody wants. As a whole, I think it looks like a good project. I'm excited to see what it looks like. I'm not sure if I would particularly wait in line for somebody getting a ton of groceries in a drive-through, but some people do. I mean, to me, that seems a bit strange, but I'm excited for it, and I hope that you are successful.
Okay. I will now ask the commission to move on approving or disapproving.
I'll move for approval of CUP 2022-001, subject to the conditions attached.
Second.
Do we need to make a change to the hours of operation?
I think that's more else.
You shook his head yes, so.
If there's a discrepancy, I think we want to memorialize that.
Yes, although it is a discrepancy, I don't know if 30 minutes would make that much of a difference. So we could condition from 4, if the applicant's okay with that, 4 to 12 a.m. It sounds like they are. So I think that we can move forward with the 4.
4 a.m. to 12 p.m.?
As written in the condition.
Okay. So no change. Okay. As the conditions. Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Cunningham and second by Commissioner Antuna to approve conditional use permit 2022-001 for a street corner urban market gas station and convenience store with alcohol sales and a drive-through use at 837 to Dakota Avenue, per the conditions of approval established in the staff report. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead is absent. Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, we'll move to item 4 now on the agenda, and it's consider items related to the incorporation of vehicle miles traveled, the VMT, into the general plan circulation element, City of Clovis applicant. Staff, is it possible to put a little bit of heat in this air?
I don't know how to do that. I don't even know how to turn it off, so. Sean is our expert, yeah. So Gene, if you can go push some buttons and turn it, turn it up or down, or.
I just follow the directions.
I'll talk fast and we'll be through this here in a few minutes. But it's up to me anyway. So thank you, Chair, members of the Commission. Item number 4 is a request for consideration of 3 elements related to vehicle miles traveled and some recent changes to state law, or relatively recent anyway. The first of the 3 components is consideration of the certification of a supplemental environmental impact report along with supporting documents. The second part is a request to amend the general plan to incorporate VMT policies into the circulation element. And the third component is a consideration of updated transportation impact analysis guidelines, which I'll probably refer to as TIA guidelines. So a little bit of background to explain how we got here. Background goes all the way back to 2013 when Senate Bill 743 was signed into law. Although it was signed into law back in 2013, it didn't become effective until July of 2020. The basic gist of SB 743 is that it changed the way that we analyze traffic impacts under the California Environmental Quality Act. So in the old days, before July of 2020, we analyzed traffic according to how much congestion and delay was created. That's now thrown out, and we analyze vehicle miles traveled. So we don't look at congestion and delay. Now we look at how many vehicle miles traveled the project generates, and we compare that to the existing situation. Understanding that VMT was about to come into effect, the city contracted with a consulting team called Kittleson and Associates to prepare implementation guidelines for the new requirements. And a few months later, we came back in July, and the city adopted interim transportation impact guidelines, or the TIA guidelines. Those are the same guidelines that, in a final form, are under consideration this evening. And then in April of 2021, the City Council initiated amendments to the general plan circulation element to incorporate these policies that I mentioned, and they authorized the preparation of a supplemental environmental impact report. So the amendments themselves, we're talking about making some policy and goal amendments into the general plan circulation element to incorporate VMT provisions. There's a specific policy that would require that projects comply with the city's updated TIA guidelines, including the VMT analysis requirements, and provide appropriate VMT mitigation. There are also policies that deal with things like promoting carpooling, exploring the feasibility of a VMT mitigation fee, and partnering with other agencies to look for VMT solutions. There are sort of general policies that encourage improved connectivity through alternative modes of transportation. So these are basically the project, along with these TA guidelines. The general plan policy additions are the project that was evaluated in the environmental impact report, and I'll get to that in just a minute. So the TIA guidelines, what really are they? Well, using the old day standard, the congestion and delay kind of standard, we had a set of guidelines for traffic studies that explained what we were looking for, how to go about analyzing the study, what the criteria were, and these the new guidelines do the same thing, but they just do it for VMT primarily. There are really what I would highlight as 4 components of these guidelines, and I'll talk about each of those briefly. The first one is that the guidelines provide criteria for screening out projects under VMT. What that means is that projects in any of these 5 categories, and they're explained in a lot more detail in the guidelines themselves. I won't go into that unless you want me to. But small projects, provisions of projects that provide affordable housing, local serving retail, high-quality transit areas, which is just a little tiny area in Clovis around Willow and Shaw, and projects located in low VMT areas. And low VMT areas are shown on a map that's included in the guidelines. So those 5 areas, projects that fall within one of those categories, they get out of jail free, you might say. They don't have to deal with VMT. They don't have to do an analysis. They don't have to mitigate for VMT impacts. They're good to go under VMT. They still have to comply with CEQA otherwise, but they don't have to do VMT. So the second thing that the guidelines do is they establish or formalize thresholds for VMT impacts. What thresholds are basically, that's the standard above which an impact becomes significant. So using the first example there, the first standard as an example, if a residential project comes through, let's call it a tract map, just a residential subdivision map. It comes through and we calculate the VMT. If the analysis shows that that project doesn't generate at least a 13% reduction in VMT per capita below the existing standard, then those impacts are significant and they have to look for mitigation. Okay, so that's what those criteria look like. Basically, it's the same for office, except for we measure against employees instead of per capita. Retail is quite a bit different, and it says it looks at kind of gross VMT increases, and if there's no gross increase, Well, actually it says net, so think about it in net, but overall, let's call it an overall increase. There's no impact, and then others can be defined on a case-by-case basis. So a lot of the heavy lifting in these guidelines are establishing these thresholds because we need to have them. They were established factually based on a lot of substantial analysis by our consulting team, and we feel like there is enough evidence there to set these standards and lock them in. The last two items are a VMT mitigation framework. And by framework, basically what we do, we don't lay out specific mitigation measures that have to be followed. We talk about what kinds of things can be included as mitigation. And these are mitigation measures that are more difficult than the old. You know, the old mitigation was you put in a traffic signal, you put in a turn lane. We knew how to mitigate those things. VMT mitigation is different than when we got to work harder to change people's behaviors, stop driving so much. And, you know, stop driving so much in period, but when they have to go someplace, we want to make basically pedestrian and cycling more of an attractive alternative. But at the end of the day, we just want less vehicle miles traveled to be developed by our mitigation measures. And so that discussion is included. And then the last of the four things is that those old criteria for, let's call it old school, regular level of service analysis, those are still in the guidelines. There's a pretty good chunk in terms of total volume of those guidelines that are about the local transportation analysis. That's the old school analysis. And we do that because although we don't get to analyze those impacts under the environmental law, we still can analyze them for consistency with our general plan. Because our general plan still cares about congestion and delay, making sure that our street system accommodates the traffic that we expect for it. So that's what these TIA guidelines do. So let's talk about the Supplemental Eir a little bit. The Supplemental Eir evaluates the general plan amendment that we're looking at with the policy changes and those TIA guidelines. So those two things together are the project. And when we talk about this being a Supplemental EIR, it's a supplement to the 2014 general plan EIR. So we prepared this EIR intentionally to look at the project and its impacts, and the public review draft was circulated for a mandatory 45-day review period between the end of June and mid-August. We also held a public information meeting, a Q&A session in July, and throughout that process we got a total of 2 comment letters, one from Caltrans and one from Flood Control. Those comments are provided as part of the final EIR, which is in your package. I would say that those comments are not necessarily substantive to, you know, the issues at hand. They have to be included and addressed, but they did not put into question the conclusions in the EIR. So the analysis in that supplemental EIR determined that VMT impacts associated with the implementation of the general plan would be potentially significant. That's both at current conditions and in the cumulative conditions. And mitigation measures were then identified that could reduce VMT and reduce those impacts. But at the end of the day, the end of the analysis, let's say, the determination was that VMT impacts would remain significant and unavoidable even with that mitigation. So what does that mean? Does it mean that you shouldn't approve the project, which is the general plan policies? Well, no, it doesn't. It just means that approval of the project requires the adoption of a statement of overriding considerations. That statement of overriding considerations is a determination that the benefits of the project outweigh its environmental effects. That's pretty common with environmental impact reports these days. I don't know that I've seen a full EIR that doesn't include some impact that's significant and unavoidable. In this case, it's specific to those VMT impacts. So what I would offer to you is that when we started this process, we fully expected that there would be significant and unavoidable impacts that would result from this process. And in fact, that was kind of the point. Because the preparation and certification of the supplemental EIR and the adoption of those overriding considerations will help to streamline future project reviews that we see. So future track maps, future commercial projects and mixed-use projects, they will all potentially benefit from the city going through this process to adopt this project and adopt the supplemental EIR. So here's basically how the process would work for a future project. Let's go back to that track map. Let's just put a number to it. We'll make it up here. Let's say it's 200 lots on a track map, and it's somewhere up in Heritage Grove. Could be anywhere, but it's up in Heritage Grove. So that project comes in, and the first thing we do is we look to see if it screens out. Like, do we get out of jail free here with this analysis? And it doesn't fall within any of those project types, so it doesn't get to screen out. We've got to go ahead and do the analysis. So we do the analysis, and we apply what mitigation measures we can come up with. That includes some design provisions. Maybe it includes some extra EV or some pedestrian or some electric bikes or transit or what have you. We load it up as much as we can, and to the point where future impacts, future mitigation is not feasible. It just doesn't work. And let's say then that the analysis still shows that those impacts are significant and unavoidable. You can't mitigate them away. Well, the benefit of what we're doing now is that future projects will be able to rely on what we're doing today in order to, what we call, tier off this process to document that the significant impacts have been previously analyzed and disclosed. And that allows those future projects to avoid having to do project-specific or site-specific EIRs. And the reason that is important is because these EIRs take the better part of a year minimum, as well as being quite expensive. I don't know, it's six figures at a minimum, but often quite higher than that. And so we specifically entered into this process looking for the back-end benefit of being able to use this to streamline future projects. So with all that in mind, the recommendation from staff is to adopt a resolution recommending certification of the EIR, as well as the findings in the mitigation monitoring program, that you adopt a policy, that you adopt the recommendation recommending the policy changes to the circulation element, and finally, that you adopt a resolution recommending approval of the updated TIA guidelines. And I know from our own experience as staff that the whole question of VMT can be confusing. It has been confusing. I think every time we sit down and talk about it with any audience, we have to acknowledge that it's the least intuitive thing that we've had to deal with. So hopefully, as I've explained it to you, it's made some sense. But if it hasn't, just make sure you throw a nice softball question to Gene, because I'm going to make him answer all the hard ones.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
Well, I wanted to thank the city planner for his his presentation. Made it a little bit clearer than mud now. But once it's incorporated into our rules and regulations, then is it something that the Planning Commission has to address for each development? Or will that be addressed in a staff report or talked about?
Yeah, so the way that maybe, the way to think of this is, my voice is going, the VMT will be like other impacts under CEQA. So to the extent that you're aware that we have biological studies and cultural resource studies, that projects subject to CEQA will also have a VMT analysis done, and it'll be included in that bundle, but it won't be necessarily something that you have to make a VMT finding on. It'll just be part of the CEQA documentation. And I forgot to notice that our consultant that prepared the supplemental EIR for this project is available in the virtual meeting component. And if you have any questions for the consultant, he'd be happy to answer them.
Any more questions for staff? Okay, I'll open it up to the general public. Is there anybody in the chamber that would like to question the staff? See none? Is there any online?
No questions online, only Mr. Aronson.
Okay, bring it back to, commission. Do you have any more questions, any discussion on it? Okay, then we're open for 3 different motions. And,
Ready?
I'm ready for, and we'll start with the first one.
Okay. Motion to approve a request to certify the Supplemental Environmental Impact Report and adopt findings of fact and adopt a mitigation monitoring and reporting program.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Cunningham and second by Commissioner Antuna to approve a resolution to certify a supplemental environmental impact report. Also adopt findings of facts and adopt a mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead is absent. Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. We'll take item number 2.
I'll make a motion to amend our GPA 2022-003, a request to amend the 2014 general plan to incorporate policy changes to the circulation element to incorporate provisions related to the vehicle miles traveled traffic impact evaluation criterion.
Second?
I have a motion by Commissioner Cunningham and second by Commissioner Antuna to approve GPA 2022-003 to amend the 2014 general plan to incorporate policy changes to the circulation element to incorporate provisions related to the vehicle's miles traveled traffic impact evaluation criterion. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead is absent. Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. We'll move to item 3 in this packet.
I'll make a motion to adopt the updated transportation impact analysis guidelines.
Second?
I have a motion by Commissioner Cunningham and second by Commissioner Antuna to approve a resolution to adopt updated transportation impact analysis guidelines. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead is absent. Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, at this point, we will adjourn this evening's commission meeting.